My name is David. I never expected that meeting at the stationery shop would change my life forever. I met Claire on a quiet afternoon, the kind of day when the sun was so hot it could make even the strongest person reconsider their entire life. I was behind the counter of the small stationery shop where I worked part-time, fanning myself with an old receipt and praying customers would at least buy something that cost more than a pencil. Then she walked in. Her shoes were worn out, her bag looked older than both of us combined, and her face carried that familiar mixture of courage and worry you see in students who are trying to make it against all odds. She asked if we sold used textbooks. We did not. But something about her made me pause. Maybe it was her determination. Or maybe it was the fact that she kept calling me brother as if we had known each other since childhood. Before I take you deeper into this story, the twists, the heartbreak, and the unbelievable ending, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories like this. Now back to Claire. That day changed everything. Claire told me she had just gained admission, but the excitement in her voice was fighting for space with fear. Not ordinary fear. The fear of someone who has finally seen the door to success, but has no idea how to open it. Her father had died years ago. Her mother was barely holding life together. She showed me her admission letter like it was a ticket out of suffering, but even that letter was folded so many times it already looked tired. She said, "All I need is someone to believe in me, just until I can stand on my feet." I stood there staring at her. Part of me said, "This is not your business." But the other part, the one that gets me into trouble, said, "Be a good person." That was the beginning of my downfall. From that day, I became more than just a friend. I became Claire's unofficial guardian, personal financial institution, academic sponsor, emotional support system, prayer partner, life coach, and sometimes her unpaid taxi driver. I worked 2 jobs, the stationery shop during the day, and security work at night. I slept in short bursts. I ate whatever was cheap and available. There were weeks I survived on biscuits, water, and motivational quotes. But whenever I thought of giving up, Claire would send long, emotional paragraphs. "You don't know what you mean to me. You are the only one who believes in my future. I promise I will never forget all you are doing." Those messages entered my heart like warm tea on a cold day. And like a certified muumuu, I believed every word. Over the years, I covered every bill that showed up in Claire's life. Tuition, hostel fees, handouts, laboratory fees, project expenses, and that mysterious faculty dues that nobody can explain but everybody pays. If she sneezed, I bought drugs. If her sandals broke, I bought new ones. If her phone screen cracked, I cracked my savings to fix it. During exam season, I became more responsible than the lecturer himself. I woke Claire up when alarms failed. I quizzed her with past questions. I listened to her rant about lecturers who behaved like education was a personal punishment. She always said, "You are the only one who ever stood by me." And I believed her. Of course I did. I watched Claire evolve. The shy girl who once whispered during conversations suddenly started talking like she was recording a motivational podcast. She began taking selfies everywhere, in class, on the road, beside random trees, even with lecturers, the ones that smiled. Confidence became her new perfume, and compliments became her new language. And then it started. The responses to my messages began shrinking. Before, "Good morning, David. Hope you slept well. Make sure you eat something today." Now, GM. Before, "Are you free this evening? I want to show you something I learned." Now, K. Just K. A single letter that ended more relationships than heartbreak itself. That should have been my first warning sign. But I convinced myself she was overwhelmed with schoolwork. After all, final year is a battlefield, and she was right in the middle of it. Then, one evening during her final semester, she called me. Voice shakier than usual, tone softer than normal. She said, "I just want to thank you again. For everything. My graduation is coming soon, and I can't wait to make you proud." That single call erased every doubt. I smiled like a parent receiving a school prize-giving invitation. And that was when I decided, on her graduation day, I would surprise her. I would show up, present, supportive, proud. Her victory would be my validation. Her success would be my reward. At least, that's what I thought. Her graduation day arrived like a long-awaited miracle. From the night before, I could barely sleep. Years of sacrifice were finally about to make sense. I laid out my clothes like I was preparing for my own convocation. I even ironed twice, which is not my habit, just to look neat enough for the pictures we would take. I bought a small wrapped gift, a silver bracelet engraved with the words, "Keep rising." I wanted Claire to look at it someday and remember who held the ladder while she climbed. I got to the university early, even before the photographers finished fighting for strategic positions. I positioned myself near the main gate, imagining how she would react when she saw me. I rehearsed different scenes. She sees me, drops her graduation cap, runs to hug me. Or, she breaks into tears, says, "I couldn't have done it without you." Or, she introduces me to her friends as my biggest supporter. Students began streaming out in their gowns, laughing, taking selfies, throwing caps, jumping for pictures that looked risky for their ankles. Proud parents danced, siblings screamed, lovers held hands and kissed for the cameras. I waited, and waited, and waited. I called her once. Ringing, no answer. Called again. Busy. Called again. Call failed. At first, I thought she was taking photos, or her battery died, or the network was misbehaving, as usual. But as the crowd thinned, my smile started fading like writing on a chalkboard in the rain. Graduates came out in groups, then smaller groups, then finally just stragglers heading home. She didn't appear. I tried her number again. This time, "The number you are trying to call is not reachable." Huh? I checked again. WhatsApp, last seen, gone. Profile picture, gone. Status, gone. I refreshed the app. Again, again, again. Then the shocking truth hit me, like a bucket of cold water in Harmattan. I had been blocked on her graduation day, the day I came to celebrate her, the day my years of sacrifice were supposed to bear fruit. Blocked, just like that. I stood there at the gate, surrounded by balloons and happy families, holding a gift that suddenly felt heavier than a bag of cement. I felt the way a man feels when he opens the fridge with confidence, only to find someone ate the food he kept for himself. I told myself, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe she lost her phone. Maybe she fainted during the ceremony. Maybe her gown caught fire. I created every excuse possible. But deep down, beneath all the wishful thinking, I knew the truth. She did not want me there. She did not want to see me. She did not want my presence associated with her graduation. For years, I had been the engine pushing Claire forward. But at the finish line, I was no longer needed. I left the campus slowly, slower than sorrow itself, holding the bracelet I never got to give her. And that day the sun felt extra hot, as if it was mocking me personally. Months later, still haunted by that graduation day, I was scrolling through Instagram, trying to distract myself from the memories of Claire and the years I had invested in her dreams. Then, my heart literally skipped a beat. There she was, Claire. In her graduation gown, perfectly ironed, flowing like she had walked out of a magazine. Her hair flawless, makeup subtle but perfect, smile radiant, like she had just won the lottery of life. And beside her, Aaron. A man I had never met, dressed sharply, looking like he had stepped straight out of a lifestyle magazine. He held her waist proudly, and she leaned into him with a glow I hadn't seen directed at me in years. The caption read, bold and undeniable. She said yes. I stared at the screen, blinked, stared again. Engaged. Not to me, the man who had worked 2 jobs, skipped meals, and counted every penny to make sure she could eat, study, and survive. Not to me, the human scholarship fund, the emotional support, the unpaid chauffeur, the cheerleader, the night alarm, the coffee supplier, the everything she needed. But to Aaron, a man who, I imagined, had probably never contributed to even one of her photocopies. My brain tried to process it, slowly, like molasses dripping in reverse. It felt like watching a movie where you had bought the ticket, made popcorn, got the best seat in the house, and then some stranger walks in, sits there, and enjoys the show while you're shoved to the back, peering over their shoulder. I couldn't help myself. I laughed. Not a normal laugh. Not a ha-ha, that's funny laugh. This was a deep, bitter, exhausted laugh. A laugh that carried years of sacrifice, heartbreak, disbelief, and the faint recognition that life can be cruelly ironic. I laughed at the audacity. I laughed at the irony. I laughed because, honestly, what else could I do? And in that moment I realized, some people don't just climb ladders. They take the ladder, use it to reach their dreams. And once they're there, they kick it away. I set my phone down slowly, took a deep breath. and whispered to myself, half bitter, half amused, "Well, Claire, you got there. I hope it's everything you imagined." People say love is blind. Mine was not just blind. It was also deaf, naive, and ridiculously optimistic. For years, I had poured my life into Claire. Skipped meals, worked overtime, survived on hope and biscuits, all so that she could reach her dreams. And yet, the moment the finish line came into view, I was nowhere to be seen. So I stood up, took a deep breath, and whispered to myself, "Claire got there, Aaron got the glory, and that's fine. I'll survive, I always do." And then I smiled. Because beneath the bitterness, beneath the heartbreak, life is still funny, still beautiful, and still full of surprises. If you followed this journey to the end, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because more real-life stories are coming, and you definitely do not want to miss the next one.